We were a little bit nervous before the game because Scotland were quite confident going into it, weren't they?
International football, it's boring, it's lethargic, but tonight was absolutely entertaining.
Yeah. Welcome to the Rest is Football with me, Gary Lineker, Micah Richards and Alan Shearer. And we're doing this right after the final whistle of Scotland versus England, where England, with a very impressive performance, beat Scotland by 3-1. We watched it here at my house, Micah. It was lovely to have you here, and Alan is wherever Alan is. Alan, you can start. It was a very impressive performance from England all round, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally agree. As the saying goes, you can only beat what's in front of you. England were very impressive, albeit from what I thought was a very poor Scotland team. I know they've won 5 out of 5 and they're flying in their group, even beat Spain.
Did England make them look poor, though, by their excellence?
There was a huge gulf in class. Scotland got a little bit excited second half when they got their own goal. I thought other than that, maybe a McGinn chance with a header. But other than that, I thought England dominated. And Bellingham, wow. What a talent, what a player.
Oof.
Not the first time we've seen it, certainly won't be the last. But yeah, I thought it was an impressive performance from England against it. Well, they made Scotland look very, very average.
We enjoyed it. We would get
fantastic.
excited. There was some great football. Obviously, the three of us are English, so slightly partisan. But we were a little bit nervous before the game because Scotland were quite confident going into it, weren't they?
Before we start, can I just say what a wonderful host you are? Honestly,
you come up with some Micah. Jesus, come on.
The food was immaculate. We made a pasta, slow-cooked ragu, and it went down the treat.
Yeah.
But anyway, to the football.
You could tell he's also had a couple of glasses of wine.
But we talk about Kyle Walker.
You want to start with Kyle Walker? Absolutely.
Can we talk about Kyle Walker first?
We can do whatever we want on here.
Well, because
2 brilliant games he's had. He scored in one. He had an assist in this tonight's game.
But he's the most improved player I think I've ever seen.
Oh, that's a statement.
In terms of when he was at, let's go right back. Sheffield United. I watched him in a game and he was electric, just pace.
Yeah.
Now he's not got any slower, but his final third, in terms of his delivery, needed a lot of work. He was, I would not say always out of position, but he was using his pace to get out of position. Now he can go into a free at the back, but he can still play high and wide as a fullback. And I just think he's a complete fullback. I think he's the greatest ever.
I was going to ask you that. Is he
right side?
Right back.
I think Ashley Cole
on the left.
back.
Yes, definitely.
But I think he is now surpassed
Micah Richards.
Gary. I think he's now surpassed Gary Neville. He's won all the trophies. He's won the treble.
Can I throw Viv Anderson in there as well?
He was before
I
my
know
time.
he was.
I've
That's
seen
why
a lot of videos of him.
I mean, we never saw him, but can I chuck George Cohen in there as well? A World Cup winner, right back?
Absolutely. World Cup winner. Yep.
Yeah.
I never really saw him play either. A little bit when I was about probably 6 or 7. But I mean, I must say, in talking to Kyle Walker, I kind of upset him, I think, a little bit. Many years ago, when he left Spurs, and obviously I was a bit of a Spurs man, he left Spurs, and whatever his price was, can you remember what it was now? It's quite 50, 60 million, wasn't it?
Well, 50 million
I think it was 50 million. And I tweeted, I occasionally get myself in trouble with tweets. And I tweeted something along the lines of, they've got, what a player. Imagine how much they'd have had to have paid if he could cross the ball. And I shouldn't have done it really. And I think it upset me a little bit. And he's come on so much since then. I actually saw him at, I hosted an event for Vincent Companies for his charity. And I went up to Kyle and I actually said, I said this once and I hear that you were, and I just wanted to say 2 things. 1, you're one hell of a player, and 2, I shouldn't have said that. I was out of order. An apology. So
you yourself.
No, I just felt I was wrong.
Okay.
So yeah, I wasn't scared. He couldn't catch me anyway, could he?
If you're in our business of being a pundit or a presenter for as long as you have or we have, and you don't upset someone, then you're not doing your job properly.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. Would you say it's the best England right back that you've seen, Alan? It's difficult with people before our time.
In my time, Gary Neville, 80-odd caps, I think. Kyle Walker, if I'm wrong, 70-odd.
I think Kyle Walker's got a bit more to his game. And I've got massive respect for Gary Neville as a player and a person, but I think he's got a bit more. I mean, his pace alone. He's the one player in the world that could probably cope with Kylian Mbappe
he has. And Vinicius Junior.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say why I would pick Kyle Walker is because I think Kyle Walker could play in any era.
Yeah.
I think Gary Neville would struggle to play in this era right now. Back then, he was outstanding.
Yeah. You do know you've got to go and work with him probably in the next weekend.
He's used to making talk anyway. It doesn't matter. As much as I would love to disagree with you, Micah, I don't think I can on this occasion.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's something. We can't not talk about Jude Bellingham. Oof. I mean, the way he has burst onto the scene like no one since actually anyone I can remember. He's gone to Real Madrid, one of the greatest clubs in the world, and he's become the boss immediately. You can see he's kind of running this England team. His determination, his brilliance, his flair. He's got everything, hasn't he? With all these things, you think, let's not get carried away. But why shouldn't you sometimes when you see something that is so superlative?
The only thing I would say is we all saw Steven Gerrard at that age, and he was marvellous. I think he's the best young midfielder I've ever seen, Steven Gerrard. Yeah. Bellingham is a little bit different, playing the number 10 role.
He's played with Dortmund. He played deeper, didn't he?
Played deeper,
like a 6. But certainly with England now and Real Madrid, he's playing in that. And he's like scores goals. He does everything. He's got tricks. He's got skills. He's got a bit of everything. And do you know what I like about him? He's got that little bit of a side to him. Is it that determination to the sort of player that you can see in a big moment in a big game that will drag you through.
So who would you pick, Gerrard or Bellingham? At that age,
start now.
I'm not talking about where they finish. I'm talking about right now.
Bellingham,
both
right
at that same age.
Bellingham right now. Gerrard's about 40 something.
Let me chuck Gaza in there at that age.
Yeah. No, Gaza was extraordinary, although very different.
When you see Bellingham tonight, the way he caresses the ball, the way he looks after it, the way his balance, his ability to go past players, etc., then that's what I thought tonight. When he was just gliding past those players and these little bits of skill and whatever he was doing on the ball, it did remind me of Gaza in his prime.
The only thing is he will pass the ball at the right time. Gaza would only give it to you if you had to give it him straight. He'd give it him straight back.
Yeah. And it was a great pass for Harry's goal as well, wasn't it? Then Harry finished it off superbly well. But oh my God, what a talent! I mean, we've said it on here before, haven't we? That we did think it was a bit of an overreaction when they retired his shirt at Birmingham, but I think we're probably now beginning to realise why. It just so mature. I mean, he's 20 now, isn't he? He only turned 20 2 or 3 months ago, but it's just an incredible talent.
Can we give a special mention to Lewis Dunk?
Yeah.
Absolutely, we should.
I thought he was outstanding tonight, and there's been a lot of question marks whether he could live up to the expectation at this level, but the way he is on the ball, sucks people in, sort of draws them to it and then plays the pass, made some real key headers, defensive headers for the team. I just thought it was a confident performance. But if I mention Dunk, we've got to mention Maguire.
Oh, poor Harry. I
just feel sorry for him at this point.
I mean, it was one of those things. It can happen to any player, obviously, that kind of own goal at that point. Thankfully, they didn't, for him, and obviously for any English fan, that it ultimately didn't prove to be that important. I think apparently his last 2 goals have been for Scotland and Sevilla. That's the thing doing the rounds at the moment. But you have to feel for Harry. But I want to talk a little bit about Gareth Southgate, because we and most people were fairly critical of some of the changes, and the as we always are, because if you're the England manager, everyone's got an idea of what the team should be, and but ultimately it's his that. But at the beginning of tonight's game, we were on the group chat and we're thinking, well, Phillips is playing, and he's what's he played? 1 game in 16 months or something. But he ended up playing the whole game, and he was solid. The changes that he made, I know it wasn't a qualifier tonight. I know it was a friendly, if there is such a thing, against Scotland. But it's got the good result, got a good performance. It was a dynamic performance, which is what we've been asking for, isn't it? That it was an attacking, impressive display.
My only thing would be is that if you're putting Harry Maguire into the team, I know he started him at the weekend, he's putting him on again tonight. The 2 guys on the bench, Tamori and Colwill, what are they sat there thinking? And we've said it before about that. I know that how Harry's done well for Gareth in the past, etc., and he's a great professional. But then Gareth chucks him on tonight, and you have to feel for him, because clearly he's not match fit because he hasn't played matches.
That's a good point.
Doesn't sort his feet out. But so then the other 2 lads are thinking, hang on, what do we got to do here to get a chance? It's a friendly game against Scotland. You've started him in the qualifying game. Why don't you put one of us on at half-time instead of him? That's what I'd be thinking.
You're 2-0 up as well.
Yeah. It's like, what are we going to do to get a game here? Am I right or am I wrong, Micah?
Well, I don't think there is a right or is there a wrong, is there? But I mean, ultimately, that time will tell. But it was a strange one at half-time, wasn't it? You're absolutely right, really. You would think this is an ideal opportunity to give players a little bit of experience when it's not crucial, just to see what they're made of.
We just don't know what the criteria is anymore, That the point when we made about Southgate last time we did a podcast, it wasn't to say he's not good enough, or it was just about to be an England player, normally it means something. So you have to be playing at the top of your game. So I agree exactly what Alan's saying. What do these players have to do to get a chance, even in a friendly? We've said we've enjoyed exactly what Gareth has done. He's been a brilliant manager, but we need to see other players to freshen it up, so when we come to tournament football, we can trust a lot more players than just the ones he seems to have faith in.
I know they're on a 5-game unbeaten run and they're flying and they're beating Spain, but come on. If you're an England player, you're sat in that squad and thinking, if he doesn't put his trust in me tonight, of all nights, then what can I do? I was pleased that Phil Foden got in there tonight, and justifiably so, and he did really well, and took his goal really well. So and we all agree that he should have been at the weekend.
It's hard to please everyone, though. If you look at just in those front positions alone, you've got the possibility of who played tonight: Rashford, Foden, Kane. Then you had Saka on the bench. You've got someone like Grealish. You've got Maddison. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, though, to be sport for choice.
I go back to my previous point in another podcast, maybe the one or two before we did here, that I genuinely think England have got best front 6 in world football.
Yeah,
I think our Achilles heel is maybe defensively, centre halves, maybe left back, maybe goalkeeping position. But when you look around, no team is perfect.
No, absolutely.
But front six going forward, I think we're the best in world football.
Yes, I said France. I just think we're talking about players.
I think front 6. I think we'd edged. I mean, they've got obviously Mbappe, who's a superstar, but aside from that, I mean, Giroud's not. What is he? He must be 59 by now, isn't he? He's 30. He's 37, isn't he?
Yeah, but a team is not just full of superstars, isn't it? It's about how you fit the team or the players into a system.
They all work.
What's best for the team?
They all work really hard.
But it was a good point, and I just believe when Kane comes so deep, it's good to play Rashford because he can make them runs in behind.
Yeah.
In the game before, we was all playing on the left. Bellingham was on the left, and Maddison was going on the left, and it all come a little bit congested. That's all I'm saying.
No, and it's great to have so many options and choices. Let's take a little break. It's our turn to have half time, and we'll bring Maguire on for Micah. Welcome back to The Rest is Football with me, Gary Lineker, Micah Richards and Alan Shearer. And at the moment, my dog too, Filbert's coming to say that. We were talking about England and England, Scotland. I actually, despite what, all the arguments, who should play, who shouldn't play, et cetera, it was a good watch. It was, it was the kind of game that we crave in international football. There's you could tell that just meant a little bit more, didn't it, when it's that all British kind of thing?
There was a bit of needle, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Like we touched on it just before, but Bellingham, he was up for it, wasn't he? Robertson was up for it. Tierney was up for it. And you just want to win. I've never played in one of these fixtures. Alan talked about the fixture on the last pod, but this is one game I would have loved to play in because I said before, international football, it's boring, it's lethargic, but tonight was absolutely entertaining.
Yeah. But it's not once you get to the tournament.
Until the tournaments, of course.
Yeah.
The atmosphere tonight, wasn't it? Hampden was like, it was bouncing, wasn't it? When both the national anthems were playing, it was for a player, you stood there, you think, give me a part of this. It was like amazing, wasn't it?
I told you the other day I made my England debut in that game, and to try and describe the amount of pride when you represent your country, you've both experienced it as well. That first time, isn't it? Because also your name changes at that point. It's like Alan Shearer of Southampton and England, Micah Richards of Manchester City and England, and it's forever there.
It's got a ring to it, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It's hard to describe. I don't think, fans sometimes go, when England don't do very well and stuff, and they all go, they don't care. They don't. I'm not having any of that. That you might play uselessly at times and things don't happen. You might lose confidence, but you always, always passionately care, don't you?
No, absolutely, yeah.
I don't know if I've told this story before, but now we're talking about your first appearance. I remember my first training session. And I'm so excited, and you're in your room just before you're about to go down to training. So training might have been 11 o'clock. It gets to 11:15.
Who's the manager?
The manager at the time was McLaren.
Yes.
And I don't know in your days, I don't know if they took the boots for you or whatnot, but I always took my own boots. And I got my boots off the kit man at Man City at the time, which was Les Chapman. So I've got two pairs. I always had molds and a studs.
Yep.
I go to look in my bag, clean them all up and everything. As I'm going down, I realise it's 4 left feet.
Is that your excuse for the way you perform?
That's why you call all those balls of his stands.
He kept sticking them in row Z.
So then,
what? Really?
I go in the corridor. So as you're going out your room, and I see Steven Gerrard, and it's the first time I've met him properly because you're all in the squad, first training session. You don't really know anyone.
4 left feet.
I said, Stevie, you can't borrow us a pair of boots, can you? Luckily, it was similar size.
No way.
He gives me his boots. We go train. It was the best training session I've ever had.
Do you think it was actually Steven Gerrard's boots that were doing it rather than...
So I say to Steven Gerrard afterwards, can I have the boots? He said, off!
Oh, God, no wonder you didn't get that many England caps. Brilliant. Scotland, for them, obviously that's it's a demoralising defeat because it's against the old enemy, and they would hate that, particularly being at home and at Hampden. But I think it's important for them to recognise the fact that they've made serious progress and the fact that they're very likely to qualify, and they're in a group with Spain, who they've already beaten 2-0.
I think it's probably a bit of a rude awakening for them because not only have they improved massively, but also England have. They've done really well. 5 out of 5, beating Spain, very likely to qualify, going to qualify. But when you look at the bare facts of it and the ability of both teams, then it was a bit of a mismatch, wasn't it?
It was on this occasion. A couple of years ago in the Euros, it was obviously a bit different. But I want to move on to a story that's obviously broke yesterday when Paul Pogba was provisionally suspended after reportedly failing a drugs test. It's probably the first high-profile one in football for quite considerable time. And it's something that concerns me. I look at football now. I see players playing way longer than they used to in our day. Now, obviously, there have been advancements in certain things, but you know, I've always been slightly concerned. It happens in so many other sports that you think, well, why wouldn't it happen in a sport that is so wealthy, where if you could lengthen a player's career by 4 or 5 years, the amount of money that would bring in and possibly success and stuff like that. It's a worrying one for the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. I think I'm surprised it's taken so long for a big name, high profile player to be found out. Yeah, I probably am, because of what you just said in terms of other sports have been found out, or other professionals in other sports have been found out at different times. But I mean, for him, for Paul Pogba, I mean, it's just been in one disaster after another over a period of time now, hasn't it?
How do the drug tests normally work?
Well, you're more recent to the game than we are.
Going to ask.
I mean, in my day, the only time you ever got drugs tested was probably at a World Cup, to be honest, or a European Championship. I remember there was one game that I was drug tested in. I think it might have been England-Poland. You go into a room and you wait at the end of a game. But in the modern days, in other sports, they can do it at any time. They can go there. Is that the case in football? And I think it was for a certain time, but
they can knock on your door.
Yeah,
they can knock on your door 24/7, whenever, and knock on your door.
Did that ever happen to you?
No one ever knocked on my door, but I got randomly tested after so many games, whether that was at league level or international level. What happens is that your name is allegedly picked out, and then you're randomly picked, and then you have to go into a room with the 2 or 3 other guys who are then stood with you until you actually can pee into a bottle. Basically, they're stood over you, they're watching you. You can't go anywhere. But after a game, I mean, I when I got tested, I was in a room for 3 hours once. I just couldn't pee. I was that dehydrated. I've got 2 random blokes standing over me. It's hard enough to go for a pee when there's someone standing next to you anyway.
Wait till you get to my age, all you can do is pee. It's just a gentle drizzle, but
it's a toilet about 10 times.
I mean, we shouldn't. This is obviously a very serious subject. Did you ever see anything in the game that made you think? I mean, it certainly wasn't around that much. Certainly in my day, I never even heard anything. I mean, I quite naively said a few years ago, and I got picked up, and quite rightly so as well. I said, well, it doesn't really. There's no point of doing that in football because it's a game of skill and technique. And I was wrong, obviously, because you can run more, your career can go a lot longer, you can recover from injury so much faster. And I was, I spoke naively, and I would say I was absolutely categorically wrong now. And I would be shocked if there wasn't many cases in football, because it's the money to be won and stuff, as well as other things. is obvious.
Yeah, but we're naive to it, aren't we? Because if we have a club doctor and they say to you, take this for whatever you need.
Does that happen to you?
You don't go to the doctor, or what is this? And you don't go on Google and check out. You just trust what your doctor is giving you.
So you think that some clubs might have doctors that just go like, bosh, have that.
I'm not accusing anyone of that, but you don't research it, do you? Because we're not doctors, so how would we know? So do I believe Pogba's gone out there and taken something? No. But do I believe he was suffering something and somewhere down the line, someone, I'm not saying just a doctor, someone within his circle has said, this would help you. And there was a case with Kolo Toure at Man City where he was taking something to make him lose weight. Yeah. And he actually got banned, but it wasn't performance enhancing. It was to make him lose weight. So if you trust who you're getting it from, then we're not doctors, so we don't know. Maybe we should always get a second opinion now.
But that's not really much of a defence.
I
mean, it really isn't.
But you trust your doctor, though.
Well, I must admit, in my time, I mean, I made my debut in '88 until 2006. I can categorically say I have never come across anyone that knowingly that I thought was on drugs or taking drugs or performance enhancing drugs, or however you want to call it. I've never seen it in football at all.
I'm the same. I've never seen it at all. But we've been finished in the game for quite some considerable time, Alan. And I do look at it now and see players playing into like late 30s and even the 40s, and I'm a little bit cynical in that area, but more on that story, I suppose, as it plays out. I want to finish the last few minutes on a story about Everton. There's a talk of a takeover. What is it? I don't know whether you say 777 partners or 777 partners. They've already invested in, I think, Vasco da Gama, Standard Liège, certainly Sevilla and Hertha Berlin as well, I think. I think it's probably needed at Everton, isn't it? But it's possibly a little bit too late to help too much this season, do you think?
Something desperately needs to happen for Everton fan. Then they must be looking at and thinking, help. We desperately need help, because at the minute, there's only so long that you can keep on surviving, which is what Everton have been doing for a while now, and the ridiculous amounts of money that has been spent over the years on bang average players, which then you have to think there's some huge money gone missing in terms of agents' fees, transfers, etc. But, I mean, for so long now, Everton have had no identity, no structure, no plan, and they've just been surviving. So for the Everton fans, a takeover of some sort can't come quick enough.
You must be happy as a Evertonian.
I mean, obviously, I had a wonderful year at the club, and you always have an affinity towards your former clubs, and I do with Everton, and I such a great year there, and the fans and everything, and they mean so much to them, their football club. And obviously they've got this incredible looking new stadium that's, but I'm just fingers crossed that it's the right takeover for the club at the right time, and it just propels them back to being what Everton should be, and that's a team challenging, for European football, not for trying to stay in the Premier League.
Well, it can't be any worse, can it?
Well, they could have been relegated last season. They were one goal off it when Decore's effort kept...
Any investment now they will take to move them forward.
That's what I mean about survival mode. They've just been in survival mode for far too long now. The inevitability will happen if it continues. They'll get relegated, and then you just don't know what's going to happen to the football club. So that's what I said. It can't come quick enough.
It's funny with football clubs now, isn't it? For fans of football clubs, most fans are hoping to get an owner with loads of, the billionaire owners that will look after their club and do it the right way. You never know what you're going to get, though, do you? Really, until it happens.
Well, exactly right. That's what we all want for our football club.
Look at him gloating. Look at his face.
Then when it happens, then you have to answer so many questions about who and what they are.
Yeah.
Even though you're just a fan.
Yeah.
You can talk, by the way, Micah.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.
Oh, and you, by the way. Big love.
Me? What?
Yeah, your team as well, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with our team.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
Apart from the fact we're in the championship. Before we fall out, I think we should perhaps draw this to a close. So thank you again for listening. Thank you so much for all your kind comments. They're quite overwhelming, actually, and we love the fact that you seem to be enjoying this podcast, and long may that continue. So goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Cheers.